Thank you. Second largest chapter after Delhi. So Delhi is the best, the largest chapter. And unfortunately, we have only 12% women in our network in TiE Hyderabad. Fortunately, that's the largest in the whole world. The percentage of women TiE Hyderabad has is the largest in the whole world, and the number of women initiatives we take up is the largest in the whole world as of today. So, long story short, what I would like to tell here is, I think it's not that women are not entrepreneurs or there are not enough entrepreneurs in the world. It's just that women don't take out time to network. Women don't take out time to be part of certain bodies or certain associations which they think is time waste. Kiske paas time hai? That's the way we think. But that is also part of, that's going to be a stepping stone for your success, which I think of late the realization has come. During my generation at least, people used to think the other way around. So, one second. Aap video kahin laga lijiye na, please. And we felt that AIRSWEE program will make a lot of difference in recognizing certain women, women entrepreneurs, and bringing them under our umbrella. There are hundreds, thousands of women entrepreneurs. I'll tell you, a self-help group woman who is doing something is also an entrepreneur. Isn't it? They do a lot of things. A Dwakra woman is also an entrepreneur. The first entrepreneur of the world is a farmer. If you remember, barter system started then. That was business, right? When money was not there, also business was happening. Later, money came into the picture. Right, so what we felt is, let's pull in all these women. We called out for applications. We called around 900 applications around the country. Rajasthan, also had a substantial share in that. Then we handpicked you guys. We had to pick you guys. We wanted people who can understand English, first thing. Second thing is, we wanted people who are having the clarity of mind, clarity of thought about their business. So those of you who filled or who didn't fill the form properly, Bhavan called you and bombarded you with questions for that. Did you do that? Did she call you guys and ask you more questions? No, she didn't call you, but she did call some people, don't worry. She did call a lot of people. She's very good at that. Okay, so that's what we did, and we are grateful to the US mission to India, which believes in bilateral relationship between India and US, and as a part of that initiative, they wanted to promote women empowerment. Women empowerment can be done in various ways, and entrepreneurship is one of the way, making you self-sustained, making you an entrepreneur, helping you create an enterprise which is not only going to help you, but a lot of people who will be dependent on you, isn't it? So that was the intent of the US State Mission. So there was a tender which was floated, and we applied for the tender and we got it. We are grateful to Krista and Holly to volunteer, believe me ladies, these women, to give 10 minutes appointment to meet them in Philadelphia is so difficult. They are so sought after there, and these women are coming for us, for all of us here, and sparing 6 days. Technically it is 3 days for you, but they're flying down and being here, then flying back. It's coming to 6 to 7 days. For what? Giving back. That's all. This is all pro bono they are doing for us. Just they want to give back to the society. They want to give back to the sisters here. That's it. That's the only intent they have. They themselves applied, and US State Mission approved because they're seasoned entrepreneurs, and they felt that they can add value to all of us here. So that's the story. So what I would want to know from all of you is not what I saw in the Google form. I want to know more about you. One, your name, obviously. So let's get comfortable with each other now. So your name, your company name, the sector in which your company belongs to. In case somebody is not clear about the sector your business belongs to, please discuss with us. We will tell you. Then we'll jot it down. Nothing to worry. Okay? The name, company name, the sector you belong to, and according to you, your stage of the company. How many of you are clear about the stages of a company? There's no harm if you are not clear. I'm there to help. Okay. How do you define growth stage? How do you define early stage? How do you define ideation stage? Right? See, there are a lot of stages of a company. If you already have a concrete idea and you have not yet started your company, it is ideation stage startup. Ideation. You have not yet registered your company. You have not yet started business. But you have everything ready. Right? You're ready to go. But somehow it didn't happen. It's going to happen maybe tomorrow, maybe 1 month, maybe. That's ideation stage. You just started off. It's below 2 years and you funded it yourself, some seed money here and there, you did something. It's early stage startup. What do you call yourself? Early stage. Am I right? You can correct me. Yeah, it's early stage startup. Okay.
Medicine delivery at their doorstep. Homeopathic basically, later on we will add Ayurveda to it. Thank you.
Hi everybody. Good morning mentors and mentee, my fellow friends. I'm Seema Badaya. Basically, I used to always say I'm a homemaker. But now when I came to know, like, I think I should address myself as a domestic engineer or a human resource manager. I have been doing it for the past 20 years, living in a joint family. And I thought I created a job for myself. I wanted a happy home. I wanted to evolve everyone around me. So the best thing that I do was to get everything evolved and everyone to be content and satisfied. As I basically believed that if a person, a child, a woman or a man comes out of home, if he's satisfied and happy, he is successful, he creates a happy society. So more into that, I just gave up my whatever abilities to them and help them out, each and everyone to evolve. Yeah, over with that. So right now, I think I have a happy, successful family. My kids doing so well, like my daughter studying in Harvard and MIT doing her post-graduation, and my son in Oxford, and to boast of sort of. But think like that, I think I should give myself to the society. And basically I believe that if a woman is empowered, she can give so much, because a woman can create happy homes, a happy family, a happy society, and a happy nation. And in that, now
sorry to interrupt you. Even though we didn't understand your name or your business or anything, ladies, let's stick to only 4 points which I said.
Okay, so now come to the point. Maybe I've gone too long. I'm sorry for that. So I've just gone. I want to start. Like I just was working in that area of social entrepreneurship. I want to evolve myself also. So to my company's name, which I would like, which I have just into the ideation stage, which is now, that's the new you, the useful you, and it's in the stage, in the ideation stage, and in creating jobs for the women to empower them so they can earn. You say, I mean, if they're economically independent, they are really socially empowered, and we create a better society. In that way, I'm involving myself too. Thank you. That's it.
We didn't get your name.
Seema Badaya.
Seema.
I think I did say my name.
Okay. Yeah. It got buried in so many.
Like we are on a growth stage.
Your name, please?
Dr. Sunita Tapadia.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Good afternoon, mentors. Myself, Bhavna Singh, and I'm from Jaipur.
And looking at me, there are more than 50 to 100 converts. We have done rapid prototyping of our pilot to introduce cycling in offices and cafes, and now we are looking to scale up. So I would say it's growth stage for my startup.
Oh, that's early stage.
Early stage, yeah, prototyping is done, business model.
Early stage. That's why I keep.
That's why I keep emphasizing we should know the stage we are in, right? You just completed the prototyping and you just initiated, right? You're in early stage. This is an early stage startup. This will, see, I'll tell you at the end of the program you'll understand why this is important. You should understand your business better. There is one company called Cykul, CYKUL, okay? Please Google them, I can connect you to them. As well as agro farm is concerned, there's one company called Kethi, Kethi, that's one, and there's one company called Indriyan, INDRIYN. They are into IoT for farming, and Kethi is for community farming, that to organic farming. So I'll tell you one thing, what most of us do is we don't network, we don't do research. If somebody has already invented the wheel, don't reinvent the wheel. So take good practices from them and utilize it. And we're in the same country, right? So we can use them. They will be applicable. They will not be redundant in Rajasthan. They will be the same, right?
And our company name is Feel Alive Today. We are at ideation stage, and our main idea is to create an online and offline platform of counseling for those students from 9 to 12 standards.
Wow. Are you qualified for that? Are you psychologists?
No, we are actually second year graduate students.
Okay, how are you going to do them?
With the help of many counselors and we're just creating a platform.
Uberization of counseling?
Something like that.
Yeah. Cool.
Good afternoon, mentors. My name is Komal Rangwani and I am pursuing my MBA from Banasthali University. It's the world's largest women residential university. We have 15,000 students over there. So idea of my business came from that university only. Actually there we have to wear khadi. So it's a fabric, handmade fabric. So there we have to wear khadi. So I want to promote khadi across the globe. So my idea is in the incubation stage. Few months back, the entrepreneurship development cell started in my university. So at this point of time, everybody in my class is searching for the good jobs. But I personally feel that job is not my cup of tea. So I want to do business. So I want to promote khadi across the globe. What all have done till date. That I have few friends in the Weingarten, Germany. So she was student in my university for a semester. So I sent some khadi kurtis to them. So they liked it a lot. So from there my idea came. So I have confidence enough in khadi that I can promote it across the globe. Thank you so much.
We are experienced event planners. We are into event management and catering solutions. And I am an experienced event planner. I've worked with companies like InfoEdge and Times Business Solutions Limited. And also I've arranged my own wedding and couple of more weddings in the family. But moving forward, Indian wedding planning industry is what we are focusing on. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ruchika. I have my own startup of platinum jewelry by the name of Jewel Love. We sell it online. It's an e-commerce platform, and we are into early stage right now. Thank you.
Hello, hi, I'm Vishakha Agarwal and I'm a jewelry designer. I have learned my jewelry designing from Archana Ma'am's Institute, Arch Academy of Design, and I guess my brand name is Garaj and it's in growth stage.
Hello everyone, I am Varsha Gupta, belongs to Jaipur. I am into business of system integration of electronic security. We are since 2005 we are doing this business. I think I am in growth stage, but I want to learn more from this seminar. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Priyanka and my startup's name is called Ek Tara. It's a fashion brand, but the aim of this brand is not just to make garments but to capture the full essence of India. So right now, like, we are targeting made in Rajasthan products. So we incorporate all the crafts, all the dyeing techniques, all the possibly art forms of India into apparel. So slowly we're capturing small parts of state like Rajasthan. Then now we're focusing on Orissa. So slowly we want to capture all the states of India and put them into apparel. And so currently we are retailing through e-commerce sites and also around 10 stores offline all over India. And we are in early growth stage.
I love paper. It is made from absolute waste, and it also helps a lot of artisans to get everyday wages. So that is my basic idea, and I want to make handmade paper and everyday use paper. Like, you know, instead of this paper, it should be handmade paper. So that is the basic idea of the company, and I'm in early growth stage. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Shalini. I'm from Udaipur, and I have not yet decided the name of my company, but a few are over my mind. So when I am in ideation stage, and I have experience in digital marketing, so I'm looking forward for digital marketing agency, I have not decided like how to go forward, but I'm looking forward for the seminar from this workshop that I can plan in a good way. Thank you.
You already worked in a digital marketing company?
Yes.
Okay. You want to know how to run a digital marketing company?
I
know that as well?
Yes, I have some experience. Like I'm doing on my own. I'm consulting few of startups. I keep my friends, but I would like to know like how should I plan a company like to hire people that it does not. I would not depend on my location, so that if I move anywhere, so I can carry on my work with me.
Yeah, that's great.
Hi, good morning everyone. My throat is a little bad. I'm Swarnim Sharma. I'm from Udaipur, and by profession I'm a fashion designer, and my company name is Swaki. I have taken initial of my name and my daughter's name and name it as Swaki, and my company is in ideation stage as my production is going on, so I have to go about it that how I launch my brand. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Garima, and my company name is Into Store, and basically I've been working in leather sector for like 2 years, and I've been exporting leather to South Africa and USA. So I've been working with some of the private labels there, customizing the products for them. So a few months ago I thought, wait a minute, like we can make an international brand over here, we can launch it over here and have a stamp of made in India rather than, you know, like made in Italy, made in South Africa, which was, I was doing that. So I launched my second venture. We tested the alpha version. We are in the beta version section. So it's an e-commerce portal, and we are also coming up with a hybrid model in e-commerce, offline and online retail sector, basically in Delhi in couple of months. That's all we are doing. Thank you.
Which stage?
Oh, actually I'm in early stage.
No, it's in growth stage.
No, I know personally. We are growing in like this year we are growing in team and the revenue and everything. So I think it's really early.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Very good afternoon, mentors, and thank you for coming all the way from US. My name is Winfred Crawford. I'm into trainings. I have been associated with trainings on business skills for last 8 years now. Started in 2009, 5th of April. So, from trainings, I have done my certification from City and Girls UK. I have also certified in NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I've done my coach level certification in that. Other than that, I am training into corporates as well as students. And I'm in a growth stage. I have a team of 6-7 trainers associated with me, along with a lot of trainers associations across India. So I do want to expand and take it national as well as international. The other early stage thing, which is also SEMA is associated with, it is NUF Foundation. This is a small initiation that we have taken for women from the it's for underprivileged women, where India does lack for education as well as taking empowerment or business for them to their houses. So we started that initiation 2 years back. Again in May 2000, on 2nd May 2015, and it's going to complete 2 years. We have a small center in one of the underprivileged areas in Jaipur, where we teach them to stitch, as well as we support girls who have been withdrawn from school from their parents to go back to school and study. And it was a very wonderful thing. One of the girls, she's topped in her class, and she was going to now do a 10th, who was being kept away from school for 3 years. So there are a few initiations that we have taken. So these are the two main things which have brought us here, to learn as to how we can empower ourselves and empower our fellow women who are not so privileged to be here. Thank you so much.
And my company name is AIRSWEEE. It's a new growth state. So we are an online curated ethical and vegan lifestyle magazine and online marketplace. So we curate products from all over the world which are organic and vegan, and provide vegan lifestyle information to our readers. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Advocate Nivedita Sarda. I'm a corporate lawyer. I've been into this practice from last 10 years, and my firm name is Vedanta Law Chamber. And we are in the growth stage. We want to become international and a national player.
Very good afternoon. I'm Shweta Kejriwal. I'm a designer of silk cashmere stoles. I started my brand 2 years back by the name of French Couture, and I'm sorry I came in a little late, so I'm not very sure whether I'm in the early stage or the growth stage of my business.
Company's name is Vatsalya Legacy Private Limited, and we are associated to about 100 schools in India now, and we are consultants to them on basis of psychology. So we are basically working for learning disabled and hyperactive children in classrooms, and we give them training modules for teachers, for principals, for directors, for students and for parents. We've been doing this from last 18 years now, and I would say I'm in the growth period. I have a team of about 45 educators with me, and they all are psychologists, certified psychologists with RCI. I am here to learn more about, of course, increasing my company, and I want to go global. Basically, I want to learn about the Finland education system to get into my state and to help my teachers and my students here. And we are the TOT companies with IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad and IIT Delhi. So we get trained there, and we further deliver our trainings to teachers and students here. And I'm pursuing my PhD. In next 2 years, I'll be like Dr. Nisha Jain. And I have 3 children. My husband is an interior designer. My daughter is 18 years old. And I love movies. I'm a Bollywood fan.
Where are you based, Nisha?
I'm basically from Bombay, married in Jaipur. I'm like grown up in Bombay. Done my education from Bombay. Now I'm like 21 years. I'm in Jaipur now.
But 18 years, where is this initiative going on?
Jaipur.
Where in Jaipur?
Tonk Road.
And which schools are you educating?
Should I tell you the name of the schools?
Yeah.
So we are consultants to about 40 schools in Jaipur. NGD, Sophia, SMS, Xavier's, Rayan International, DPS, SJ Public School, all the big brands, step by step.
So do they consult you?
We are consultants to them. So we provide training programs to them. We set up learning centers for them.
I'm absolutely unaware that any such thing is going on.
We'll find out in the next 2 days.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we've almost trained about 25,000 teachers across India now, and we have it's a registered panel with us. So we are registered with the RCI, that is the Rehabilitation Council of India, and they provide us all the information that which school will need what kind of service when it comes to psychological problem in classrooms and outside classrooms. Psychological problem is not only observed in students. There are many parents who go through some psychological problem, and as well as teachers, because they also come with some kind of a baggage. So they also need a lot of motivation and inspiration to teach in a classroom. If I talk for Jaipur, then there are about 70 children in one classroom in the best of the schools of Jaipur. So to teach 70 children in 45 minutes is it's not like eating a piece of cake, let me tell you that. And in about last 2 years, we've started with what these guys are planning. We are doing career counseling with all the psychometric tests available for class 9th to class 12. Thank you.
Got my
My entrepreneurship goes by the name Sparkles, and I have little problems in all the fields. But basically, there is a problem in product pricing, and my venture is, I call it an infant, natal or neonatal stage, whatever. So I have a problem in product pricing, managing labor. One of the main goals that I'm looking at is making my Sparkles, making it a branding, and then there is customer identification is also one of the major problems because the type of
during the course of the day. In the next 2.5 days, we'll discuss all that.
Thank you so much. And then there is little lack of confidence I feel I have. So I think in 2.5 days I make up for the confidence.
Surely. After all the confident ladies here will drop their confidence on you.
Thank you so much. I'm looking up to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then we will lunch is down the hall.
Lunch is just straight in Monarch.
Yeah, straight the hall and Monarch. Now it is 12:05. When can we come back?
Let's focus on the picture, ladies. Smile.
And two guys.
Wait, there's nobody left out. Wait.
I kept on networking.
Be there. You can stand there. Don't block her. Yeah.
I didn't sit actually. Have a bed up. Just
Sure.
अब हेलो नहीं बोले, हाँ रेडी नहीं बोले, कुछ भी नहीं बोले.
Bubble, you also come.
Hi, why is Bubble there?
Come,
Bubble.
Come. Sorry.
आ जाइए. Come. Thank you. Okay.
फोटो मत लो यार, खाने की फोटो जूम करके लोगे कितना खाना ले.
They can do something for their society and family.
Great. Thank you.
So it's basically finding solutions to the real life problems and benefiting other people around who are facing the similar problems.
Great.
So for example, like the Uberization of services like booking the tickets online, like to book my show, or like booking Uber. So it's like finding solutions to the problems. That is what I personally, my take is on entrepreneurship.
And your dream, and then finding a bridge between that problem and your vision, and creating an eco kind of a system, where you can bring about your solution and into the system,
Right. Yeah, basically to put your set of skills for doing the best for the people that you're serving and also for generating employment. So
Great. Anybody else?
I think it's more about doing things, making things happen. Like it's less about ideas, more about execution. What I feel.
Great.
Entrepreneurship is the way of providing the job. Instead of becoming a job seeker, you can become a job giver.
What else? Anybody else?
it's a way to use your own unique skill set to creatively find a solution to via a product or a service which can benefit people, say either be a breakthrough solution to something or a slightly different way of how things were done earlier in a more creative and imaginative way, which is a win-win situation for most people involved.
Who else? Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Well, I agree with you all. I think entrepreneurship means something a little bit personal to everyone. I think that's part of being an entrepreneur. So there's certainly no wrong answers, but at least I wanted to make sure everybody got a sense for why they're in this and why you're contemplating it. And again, just being here and committing to this session is a great accomplishment in itself. So congratulations on that. So I'm going to walk through these slides. I'm going to apologize in advance because we're going to pretend that the men in these pictures
are women. This is the beauty and the curse of being able to grab slides fairly easily from the internet.
I can add a different view to it, if you don't mind.
Yes, what is it?
I would say that he's falling from there, and there's a woman with a fishing net catching him.
Oh, I love it. So let me challenge.
She has a business idea.
So for the next 20,
I'm there.
yes, so for the next 20 slides that have pictures that are with men in them, we're going to pretend there's a woman, somewhere involved in it. Or if they're just not very attractive women, how about that? Which is all fine. So how do I do this? Ideas, but I think if we take the idea and think about how it applies to women entrepreneurs, it feels a little bit different. So believe in what you do. And I think that the really spin on that one for women is that most women that I talk to, and by the sounds of the ideas that you're all working on, tend to work on businesses related to women. So either issues that we have that we're solving, things that we see in the world that we'd like to change. And that's amazing, but it's also difficult in many ways because, again, you're looking for funding, which may be from men. You're giving your elevator pitch to customers that may be men. And you're in a world of people that may not experience the problem that you're solving. So what I say is believe in what you're doing, know that it's worthy, and have the confidence in every one of those conversations to know that it's right. Because that's one of the things I often see, and I just told this story a couple days ago. When I see men and women present and they're looking for funding, what I often see is that, again, women are working on projects related to women that always don't apply to everyone else. But what I also see is a difference in confidence. So men will come in, they will be less organized, less prepared, and more confident in almost all those situations. And I know myself, I do the same thing. I over prepare, I kill myself to go into a meeting or a presentation, and the person next to me may be less prepared and still come off more confident. So believe in what you're doing the right thing, and just stay with it. Continue the confidence. It's going to be and in many cases, especially when you're starting your business, you may not have a co-founder. I actually believe that co-founders are great for having your first built-in team. But in many cases, you might not have that. And you're going to be working long hours by yourself, doing all of the roles, in a vacuum, convincing yourself, you're in your head trying to figure out how to make a decision, pointer count in your head. So find a buddy, find an advisor, find someone that you actually have lots of people right in this room that I'm sure would love to help be a buddy in the system. It isn't necessarily someone who knows more than you do. Sometimes it's just someone that is going through the same thing, right? Think about other ways in life that your friendships have bloomed because you're going through the same thing. So know that entrepreneurship, everyone feels lonely in it. There's highs and there's lows, and it's great to have someone who you can experience both those things with. And I think, especially for women, this is particularly daunting. No offense to the few men that are in here. Men tend to, they may overread success stories, and so maybe this slide is to think about all perspectives. I think when women tend to read stories, they tend to find the negatives in stories, particularly when they relate it to the business that they're working on. So they may see the gloom and doom in their industry. They might see someone else's failure and portray that onto their own business. But know that you really should be looking for balance. Again, the highs and lows. Oh, thank you.
कैसे करना है दिखा दीजिए.
All right, I'm sure it's common sense. Hopefully I'll be able to do that. So anyway, really look for balance in the things that you're reading in your research. Not to be naive and not see the reality of the situation, but really look for the balance, because I think we tend to really think about how our businesses may have the negatives of the business and really look for the full picture. Oh, I'm gonna pass out a slide on this later, but I'm gonna talk about something here that I think is really important around entrepreneurship. So one of the biggest failures that I see in companies that either I'm mentoring or companies where we're funding is that there's so much to do, right? We're talking over lunch. Every role you play, there are so many things you could do every single minute, and trying to figure out how to prioritize is one of the most difficult things really in life, but particularly when it comes to running your own business. And Trista, if I can I steal your example from yesterday?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Trista gave us a great example about how women think versus how men think, and she was talking about we were talking about your husband, and he said the way that men think is they think in boxes. So if you think about it, I'm going to paraphrase a bit.
Yeah.
if you think about an organized closet and a man picks out a box and he thinks about that thing, and then he puts that box back and he takes out another box and thinks about that thing. And women are more like wires. It's crisscrossed and all over the place. And you know, I always say to my husband, I'll say, what are you thinking about? And he'll say, nothing. And he'll say, what are you thinking about? And I'll say, well, I thought about this, which made me think about this, and it made me think about that. And then, oh my gosh, I forgot to do these 3 things, and let me write this down. And so in our ability to somewhat manage lots of things, we end up also not getting a lot done sometimes. And so a bit of that is a tangent for the handout that I'll give you later, but there are 4 quadrants of activity that I like to think about when I manage my time. And whenever I feel flustered, I always think I've got to get control over what I'm working on. And so there are the 4 quadrants that are sort of interesting. And if you can imagine things that are important and things that are unimportant. So if you think about, we're going to do 4 quadrants. You're going to have to help visualize since I don't have it on paper in front of you. So if you think about things that are important, you can have something that's important and urgent, and think something that's important and not urgent. And so if it's important and urgent, it feels like you should really get it done. Right? These are, you know, you forgot something, you know, you forgot to ship out a customer order, or there's a customer complaint, or there's an urgent call that came in, or the technology broke. They're things that have to get done right in that moment. But these things tend to cause a lot of stress, right? We can't live in that quadrant all the time. Although I'm sure we all feel like we can't get out of that quadrant. And then the important but not so urgent is actually the place where we should be spending time. This is things like planning, building relationships, networking, exercise, spending time with our family. These are all the things that, again, are very important, which who has time for, right? So these things end up getting neglected. And then we spend time on these bottom things, which are not important and urgent, which is the phone call from whoever that you end up picking up, but you know you probably shouldn't have picked up that call. It's the emails that you really didn't need to work on, but I know I get stuck in them because I can do them quickly, I think, but then I get stuck in them. But it's that category of it seems urgent, but if you had to look at it, it's really not that important. And then you have the worst quadrant, which is the not important and not urgent. And this is just where we're stuck all the time. This could be social media. This could be, you know, taking calls that just aren't relevant. This is getting sucked into the internet, or again, some of those emails that really aren't urgent, but you're just, because you feel like you can get them done, because I'm the person who has to get rid of all the emails in my inbox. It's a bad obsession because really I should just be deleting them all, but I feel like they all get my attention. So when I think about when I'm starting to feel like everything's getting a little bit out of control, I like to think about these 4 quadrants. I don't necessarily then put them in those quadrants, but I typically know where I'm spending my time, and it helps me reset. Then I do a whole different exercise. Everyone has their own system. I'm not sure mine's all that great. But then you get back to, all right, I got stuck in that quadrant 4, not important and not urgent, and I'm stuck here. How do I take a step back and reprioritize?
And Holly, I use that tool in my business as well. I do a full SWOT analysis every year, boil it down, and then I try and plot things into exactly that grid so that my entire team is on the same page. And for those of you who have teams, somebody mentioned having a team of 45 people, everyone having a common understanding of that is very, very important. The other tool I use is called blue chips and white chips. And if you think about it in your mind, as every blue chip is worth 10 white chips. And when you're spending your time on things, think about
live with us, they office with us in our space. So I see her often, and she's a woman who has just worn herself to the ground. She's very ill, and it's because she's working so long and so many hours and taking the responsibility of the business so personally, which you will do and you should do, but not at the sacrifice of your own health. So the next slide plays into this as well. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So, just to mention SWOT, which is what we're gonna talk about a little bit more later on. And for those of you that may not be familiar with it, it's a strategic view of the business, looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the business. It's a great planning tool. And so one of the things that you should be thinking about is realistic milestones for your business, what you're doing today from a tactical and strategic perspective. And again, knowing that this is a long haul. This is, you know, if growth stage is over 2 years out, This is a long journey. In many cases, this could be for the rest of your life. You know, if you're successful, this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life, which is pretty exciting. So how do you be sure that you're taking care of yourself and correctly putting the milestones in place so that you can actually make the journey and stay with it? You don't want to get burned out in 6 months either, or less. So we talked a little bit about bartering earlier. And one of the things that I find is that women don't always barter the same way that men do. And so we tend to give away more than we get. And we do this in negotiating. We do this in many things in our own businesses. We certainly do this in our personal lives. I know that I'm not always the best at this in my personal life, though I think and hope I'm better at it in my professional life. And I have a good friend who gave me some advice a couple years ago, and it sticks with me, and hopefully it will stick with you. And what she said is, for every dollar that you haven't negotiated for yourself, or you've left on the table, is a dollar that they're taking out of your daughter's pocket. And so if you can't negotiate for yourselves, negotiate for your family. And I will tell you, I think of it all the time, because when I'm in a situation where I just want to get out of that, it's uncomfortable, I want to say yes, women are pleasers, I want to be out of the situation, and I want to say, okay, I'm giving in, and then I'll think, oh my gosh, you're not taking that extra dollar away from my kids. So whatever you need to find that gives you grounding or gives you inspiration, remember that to some degree, and always think that a real deal, everyone has to feel a little pain on both sides for the deal to be consummated at the right level. I have to click, I'm not even using it. So get motivated. You're already motivated, you're already doing it. In some cases, you're about to do it. After these 2.5 days, hopefully you'll take the plunge. But one of the things that we don't always do is celebrate those milestones. So if you think about setting up the milestones, you're doing the long haul, you really have to celebrate along the way. And I often say in sales, one of the difficult things that I did is we would work on very long sales cycles. So you would sell something for 5 years. You'd be so nervous the whole time and trying to sell that finally you would get a verbal. You'd be sort of excited, but then you're nervous because then you had to work on a contract. And by the time the contract was done and you got the customer, then you were so nervous that you were going to blow the customer relationship. There was a cycle of unending angst and stress. And so what we really tried to do was focus on what were the steps in between that we did well. Great meetings, celebrate the verbal, celebrate the contract, celebrate the customer not leaving or staying longer. And so this seems so obvious, but you really do need to bake in those highs because they need a counterbalance sometimes when things aren't as rosy, which I'm sure seems more often than we like. So don't miss your target. Again, in the prioritization, sometimes we get unfocused, but I do yearly goals, 6 month goals. I would do a little too much goal stuff. But I also do daily goals, and so it's what are the top 3 things I need to accomplish for that day or for that month, whatever it might be. And sometimes I have too many lists on my desk, so I try to really focus on what I'm trying to achieve, maybe for whatever that period of time is. And the example I have for this comes out of my 9-year-old's 4th grade class. So she's not so organized. She loves shiny things, and she's very easily distracted and doesn't quite get to class on time. And so her teacher's been working with her on how to keep her focused. And I have started doing this, and it's pretty interesting. So I look at my 3 things for the day, and I set, because I have the thing I have to do. I don't necessarily want to do that thing. So you know what you do, you look at that, and then I'm like, maybe I'll just look at the email. Ooh, I'm sorry, did someone text me? So what I started doing is what my daughter is doing in class, and I have a sticky note on my desk, and I write the thing I'm going to do. And whenever I find myself going away from that thing, I put a check mark on my sticky. I'm not sure my daughter's actually doing this in class anymore, but it has worked really wonders for me. And it's not a punishment to say, my gosh, I just made like 6 check marks, I'm not doing this thing. But I just find it helps me get back to what I'm doing. And there are so many distractions now with honestly, the number of electronics that each of us has. Your desktop, you could have an iPad, you have a phone, you have music playing, dogs barking. Everyone will have a system. This is just one idea, but I know personally it's not working for me.
That's a great idea.
The check marks. That's funny. You're going to find, and then you're going to chuckle, oh my gosh, I really just went that with a check mark.
I did this one.
So we've talked about this a few times, expanding your network. And this is in that quadrant again where women tend to feel like this is not important. Who has time for it? I could spend an hour networking with someone, or I could get home to my kids. I'm late to pick up whatever it is. But this truly is important. This is a way that you will build not only your confidence, you'll build your network. You might build new customer relationships, get new ideas. I find that when I set up lunches or networking, you may feel the same way I do. I'm not always excited when I'm on my way there. Because I'm busy, I shouldn't have booked this now, I have other things to do. But I always come out feeling refreshed and excited. I get something from every one of those meetings. I'm typically inspired. I have something new I can think about, something I can research, something to add to my list. But this is something that women really should be focusing on, because it is this network and this giving back that will help you. Ultimately, I guarantee it, there's someone in this room today that maybe not next week, maybe not in 6 months, but in the next couple years, you're going to reflect on and say, oh my gosh, I remember she was working on that. I wonder if she has any ideas for what I should be thinking about. So this is, I know it doesn't always seem like that priority, but it really is important. I know it's personally really helped me, I'm sure. For many of you that are doing this on a regular basis, I'm sure you'd agree. Leverage your expertise. Women don't boast. We don't really talk about what we do, what we know. For most of us, what you said today is probably more than you typically say about what you're working on to people. And you didn't even get to say more than 4 things. So this is where I think it's a struggle for us to talk about what we're experts in. And I think that we have to get each other talking more, because I can guarantee you that if you're in the same group, this size, a group of men talking about what they're thinking about or what they're working on or where they deem to be experts, you'd have a lot more conversation. So I don't know exactly how to tell you to do this. I just know that we need to start talking more about our expertise. We need to boast a little bit more about where we have skills and what we're good at. I think that part of that will allow us to ask each other for help, because I think that's actually a good exercise. Maybe we should do that at some point in the next couple of days. I was in a leadership program, and one of the things that they had us do was that everyone stood, and everyone just said their name and what their skill is that someone else could ask them for. So it might have been, I said I know some things about funding, so if people they're thinking about funding their business, that I could give them advice. But people talked about, I went on a cruise to Italy, I could tell you about cruising in Italy. I know how to speak this language, I know how to deal with 8-year-olds. I knew I needed help on all those things. But maybe, let's think about that. So maybe in the next couple days, think about what you could be good at or help other people at. And maybe we'll just go around and do a round robin, and maybe that'll be another way that we help each other talk about how they're experts, and also give you a reason to connect with each other. Help others. This is obvious. And what I'm learning about your culture and your tradition is that you already do this, I think, better than we do in the US. So we'll learn a lot more from you over the next couple of days around how to help others. Because it's a bit of a ridiculous picture. But it's true. We should get out there. And I love what Arch was talking about, her mentor walk. It's such a great idea because you get the mentoring and the walking all in one. But don't forget about yourselves, how you treat yourselves, how you exercise, how you eat. Because ultimately, again, it's a marathon. You have a long way to go, so treat yourselves well. So a couple things on decision making. One is, I really believe that women feel like we need to know the right answer, and we need to be able to articulate it quickly. So give yourselves permission not to have to answer on the spot, which is very difficult. I find myself wanting to answer it, and it's very difficult to say, I hear what you're, even to a customer, think about it, a customer asks you a question you don't know the answer, or a prospective customer, or a funder, or a banker, or whoever it might be. Take a second, pause. I understand what you're asking, I'm not quite prepared to answer that. Can I get back to you? Can I get back to you in 10 minutes? Can I get back to you in 10 days? Give yourself permission to do that. Now the flip side of that is, sometimes we get paralyzed by having to make a decision. So don't be afraid to make the wrong decision. I mess up things every day. Truly, mess up things every day. You can ask my family. So give yourself permission to be okay with that. Pick yourself up, dust off the pieces. You probably won't make the same mistake at least 2 days in a row. But be okay to make a decision and know that it might not be perfect the first time around. But there really is a balance. One is making considered decisions, the other is not being paralyzed by having to make decisions. Because as entrepreneurs, you have to make 1,000 decisions every day, maybe more. And so some of them won't be quite right. Most of them you can fix. Acknowledging when you're wrong, especially if it's to a customer, is the right thing to do. And forgiving yourselves when you think that maybe it wasn't the right thing to do. So I find that women are okay with asking for help in many situations. We're okay with getting advisors. We're okay with getting people around us. Some cases maybe not, and you should if you don't. But one of the things that I find is that sometimes we get too many advisors or too much help around the table. So I work with a woman, a brilliant woman in the U.S. who has a financial insights newsletter that she sends to about 1 million women every day. So she's well known. She's very smart. She has so many smart people around the table that when she actually tries to get help, she doesn't know which answer to take. So sometimes we take in too much advice, and then we're paralyzed by that because maybe you're not asking the right people who actually have the expertise. One is you're asking too many people, or you're not sure who has the expertise. And so one of the big challenges is figuring out who the right advisors are, and go for the stars. You should pick the best person absolutely qualified to tell you how to, what you're doing. If it's a particular sector or a particular part of that, legal advice or HR advice or whatever it might be, find the best person out there, and many times they'll be the right advisor for you. But also know that too much advice can be a bad thing. And often what we do is we ask for a lot of advice because we didn't like the first answer we got. Sometimes I do that as well. So know that you're doing that, evaluate it, and get the right people around the table. Which is not easy, but necessary. And create your own definitions of success. This is difficult because success for us looks very different, maybe what we think to ourselves versus what society might say, or what it might say from our bankers, or from our peers, or from our customers, or from other customers or other companies that we see that are in our same sector. So be true to what you think success is. Keep people around you that lift you up, that give you good advice, that keep you excited. In life, right? I don't know, the older I get, I'm trying to really get away from the people who don't make me feel good about things. We're attracted to those people in different ways. It could be long-time friendships. Sometimes it's people in our family. But being around people that really lift you up and get you going and inspire you is obvious. It seems obvious. It's easier said than done. Appreciate your customers. So it's much easier to keep a customer than it is to try to get a new customer, financially and every other way. So you should spend a lot of your time figuring out, for the customers you have, how do you get them to buy one more thing, 1.5 more things, come back next year, come back next month. Spend a lot of time on figuring out your customer strategy. We'll talk a little bit more about that over the next couple days. But I will tell you, the cost to acquire a new customer is much more difficult. But Trista probably has some good stories about this. I'm not going to put you on the spot unless you have a good story. So breaking up with bad clients. So there's a couple things that I want to talk about here. One is, when you have a business, maybe it's a particular platform, and you're early in figuring out how you're going to sell to your customers, you may get a customer that doesn't look exactly like a fit for your platform, but you really want a customer. So you might bend the platform or bend what you do, make something custom, because you really want that customer. And then the next customer looks a little bit different, so you bend a little bit towards them. Now you have 5 or 8 customers, bespoke solutions. Everyone looks different. Everyone requires a different kind of handling, a different kind of pricing, a different kind of marketing, and it becomes very difficult. So at some point, maybe before you've gotten that far, either figure out what the niche is and who the customer is and how to keep true to that customer, or eventually potentially you might have to break up with bad clients. And these could be clients that just aren't a fit for your platform, but they all could also just be bad clients. Clients that don't pay you on time, they're abusive to you, they're mean to your people. Let's all be fortunate enough to work with people we like, that are good to us and our people, and have the empowerment and really the confidence to get rid of bad clients. I don't know, did you want to?
I actually have a couple of stories, but I think it'd be better to put it out to the group. Who's had to break up with a client or a customer? Who's had to say no, or anybody had an experience where, especially those who've been in business a couple of years? Yeah, tell us your story.
I would not say that in the literal sense breakup, but especially on the cash on delivery kind of orders, wherein you know that there is a long span in terms of the delivery and the payment. You really want some difficult customers to really talk good things about you, and in terms of the retention. So we really had difficulty maintaining that life cycle or during that course of time. Given a choice, we would want to break up with such set of customers because it really occupies your time, and you really go out of your way instead of channelizing your energy in something more useful. So yeah, we do have those customers.
Who else? Who else has broken up with a client or said no, or got a brave table back there?
Both of us.
Yes.
Both of us.
Yeah, so as I told you that we are into consultancy with schools, right? So most of the schools pay us on time, schools and colleges both. But there was one such client in Indore with us who would pay us almost 5 months or 6 months late. And to the other schools, they used to say that, the company is just so-so, and one person will come and 2 person will come, and they were not speaking very good about us, even after taking the full kind of a service from us, with a staff of about 10 people in just one school. So this continued for about 1.5 to 2 years, and when in the 3rd year we had to renew the contract, we had sent them a mail with a clear no, that we will not be continuing any kind of contract with you, in spite of that school being one of the best school in that particular city. But we had to do that.
Good for you.
Yeah, I think that it's a very tough thing to do. As I mentioned earlier, I regularly am a mentee as well as a mentor, and I had lunch a couple of weeks ago with a woman who's about 15 years older than I am, that I met through my business partner, and she was talking to me about how she's really gotten great at honing her opportunity filter. She has what's called an ideal client profile, and every client opportunity, she compares it to her ideal client profile, and it's just about a paragraph and a half. It's not anything extensive. And she said that she compromised her ideal client profile a few months ago because she met someone that she really liked. And even though this client didn't meet her ideal client profile, she really wanted to work with this woman because she felt like she had a chemistry with her and a connection. So she bent her standards to take on this new client. Months later, what's come home to roost is not the right client for her. The client's making her team miserable, not the right, not a good alignment between her services and what the client was really looking for. So even when you do have a really well-defined opportunity filter, you're going to make mistakes and realize it. And what's great about this particular person, she said, I realized it, and it just kind of hit me one day with like a light bulb, and I ended up breaking up with her, and hopefully we'll still have a friendship, but it was the right thing to do for the business and the company, and so it's a tough, very tough decision to make, and you'll make mistakes with it, but starting with having a good opportunity filter or an ideal client profile, depending on what business you're in, can help you at least think about that. And then if you are going to go into some of those situations, we all have situations as entrepreneurs where you can't afford to turn away the business. I mean, everybody at one time or another is in one of those types of situations where economic climate is bad, and you have to take that client, even though it's the wrong thing to do. But at least if you can go in a few times where we've had to take on clients where just had a bad feeling about them. And I'm in a services business and marketing, so everything we do is so subjective in a lot of ways. There are still a lot of things that you can't. And somebody said they were in digital marketing. Is that you? Yeah, so there's a lot that you can measure with digital marketing, but there's still a lot of pieces of marketing that you can't measure. So it's a very subjective business. I like this, I don't like that. And so, there have been a few times where we've taken on clients where I just wasn't quite sure we were going to be the right fit. And I had an honest conversation with my team, and I said, look, not sure this is the right client for us. We're going to give it a try. I would love to have everyone's feedback, and if this doesn't seem to be the right fit for us, or this client is making everyone unhappy, I will commit to you that we will break up with this client. And we've done that a couple of times, so I think that's a really, really great point. That was a good example.
Did anyone
I have
else?
a question
Sure,
here. I wanted to ask, like, suppose if the same client with whom you broke up, say, about 4 years back, and they want to again have a relationship build up with you on your own terms and conditions, the new terms and conditions of the company, should we go ahead and have a clientele relationship with them?
Well, I always believe people can change, but I'm an optimist, so I'm often wrong, but I mean, I would say as long as you go into it with the knowledge of the prior relationship and you set those boundaries, and the moment you see the boundaries being compromised or broken, you know, you have the fortitude to walk away and say, you know, this is kind of going down the path that it was before, and, you know, we need to remove ourselves again. People change, businesses change, and the maturity of your business will change over time as well. So maybe they're not the right client for you when you're very small and you're in startup phase, but maybe they are the right client for you when you're in growth stage. So that's another factor to take into account.
So we should give it a thought.
Sure. I mean, every situation is unique, but I wouldn't say it's a definite no.
But you could, you might have different terms for them, or you might have.
We had a different, absolutely a different term for them. We usually take a 50% advance from all the other schools and institutions. Right. For them, we made it 100% advance, and they agreed with that.
Well, then you should definitely take them on as a client.
Breaking up with a client would be a tough decision, definitely. But when we say no to them, we don't want to continue with you, it would affect the business image also. Like they would spread rumors or bad words about us. So we'll be not having further clients would not be happy or very positive with us, because they'll be knowing they'll be getting the feedback from our past clients. So how to break up with them? What would be the right way to break up?
I mean, I think always be professional, and I always do the "it's not you, it's me" thing. So of course, you don't want to disparage anyone, even if they're the worst client that you've ever had. But I think you need to have the confidence in your other advocates as well, because I think that is one of the reasons why, as women, we don't break up with clients as much, because we're afraid what they're going to say about us, or we're afraid about the grapevine. And I think you need to have confidence in your advocates. We're working with a company in the U.S. They're a large nonprofit, and one of the founders of the company published a book. It takes a lot to put yourself out there and publish a book and put your thoughts out there for the entire world to see. And one of the early reviews on his book was extremely negative. Thought that it was full of crap, excuse my term, and just really didn't. The reviewer really didn't care for his book. 40 other customers of his that had experience with him wrote on top of that review and defended him like, you wouldn't believe, you're wrong, you don't have an experience with this particular firm, that was not my experience at all, So, sometimes having a little faith, which is hard, especially when you're in startup phase, you don't want to have a bad reputation in the industry, and, some clients don't, obviously take very well to being, broken up with. But if you can, do it in a professional way and just tell them, look, at the stage I am in my growth right now, I think maybe you're too big of a client for us, or, we're specializing in this and your industry is that. And there's always a way to spin it in a way that does not make the client feel disparaged. I mean, you never want to burn a bridge in the marketplace. And in fact, this is true of people you might work with, people that might work for you in your business. One of the philosophies I have in terms of people that I hire or people that work for me, I always keep in the back of my mind that 15, 20, 30 years from now, I could be working for that person, or that person might be in a position to give me a piece of business. And so I try and think about that with every person that I meet. Maybe the chemistry at the point in time is not right, but you never know, as I think Holly said and Shriti earlier about, those connections, it's such a small world in this day and age, and everyone's connected to everyone, and especially in the digital marketing field, it's a big industry, but small in many ways. People go from firm to firm, so it's really important to leave things on good terms and not burn a bridge.
So
it should be a diplomatic breakup kind of.
Right. We were really having a tough time, whether it was financially, whether the amount of stress my trainers were going through because of them and the way they were working and all. So eventually I sat down with my team and I discussed, and we took the decision 2 years back that we will not work with this client. And though they took our content and they tried to work it out on themselves, now they are coming back and they really want to work with us. So I also had like the apprehensions, should I go ahead with them and what should be my terms and condition now, pertaining to all the experience and understanding that the system of working is not going to improvise, or what should be my terms to make sure that they do come to my terms to work with, or I don't work with them at all. So
well, it sounds like you know what you need to do.
So that's exactly, I was sitting down and writing, you know.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
and you also, I think, need to monitor that list and look at it often to be sure that things aren't veering off the path, right?
Yeah, because it had come, you know, you can say it had come till here, and I had to literally say enough is enough.
Right.
And we had to put our foot down.
Right.
Like 8 hours training or rigorous work,
Wow.
giving you the best, putting in the best and bringing out quality. Like I've worked with every client and I've always worked. And I've always got referral business. Honestly speaking, in the last 8 years, I've never marketed myself.
Good for you.
So whatever points you've been sharing, I've been, you know, I've been putting my to-dos on them. I said, these are the gray areas that I need to work on myself. So, like, she just came to know I'm into trainings just a few days back. And I've been into, like, this business for a long time.
Right.
So, that is what, you know,
that's great.
This is where I really need to work on.
Well, and to Trista's point, it sounds like she has some spotters in her organization that help her look for
Yes.
signs that things are going off the track.
Yes.
Yeah, I had one client. We worked for him to take over a very bad company. The company was in a bad shape, and he has been trying for 6 years to actually take over that company. And he had a good percentage stake also in that company, but he was not able to manage. So we diplomatically negotiated with him and finally got him the deal. And once the deal was stuck, it was something like we did the basic paperwork and then we have to progress. He became nasty and nasty and nasty and nasty. Something like, what have you done to us or done for us?
Mm-hmm.
It is all what we could have done otherwise.
Right, right.
And it was always like, you are trying to be a god to us, we cannot let you overrule us. Or even if we say that, okay, this is the procedure, no, you don't come to us to do anything illegal because we don't understand legal, you know, that type of way.
Wow.
Means he was coming on you quite personally, like specifically for getting you down on the moral side.
Right, right.
So we had a breakup with him, stating that, see, we are very happy till the time we have worked with you.
Right.
And we are very sure that you want to progress in your life.
Only your laptop.
You need to...
It's a charger.
Charger.
Sorry.
I don't know.
I don't have a charger.
Was it
So we'll find one of them.
Is it Ball's laptop?
I think so. So truly, what are the metrics? Are you living up to the standards? And if there aren't black and white metrics, then how do you define them so that it makes it more clear? And then sometimes it might be to your spotters or other people in the organization that help you assess the relationship with that client, because you may not realize that it's having an impact on more than you. And once you hear that it's impacting other people on your team and the company, then it also makes those decisions a little bit easier, because you know that truly the morale of the company is being affected by this one particular customer. I don't know, do you have anything you want to add?
I think we should keep going.
But we do that. We do that. We always do, oh, it must be me. I'm terrible at this. And often, almost always, that's not the case.
Yes.
But thank you for sharing that, because I think it's something we all face. Of this or that, which is a common phrase these days. But again, when you think about it, it is taking that concept and applying it to a different sector. So when you read things, and you hear things, and you hear each other speak, I know that right now you're incorporating that all into what you're thinking, because you're in a very specific workshop focused on entrepreneurship. But when you're walking down the street, the other thing that we do is we tend to be in our head, walking down the street and not thinking about where we are or being present or observing what's around us. But I think if you take in some more things that are outside of your industry or outside of your head, then it might be more impactful and to help you think things through as well. That could be the list. Yes. Any questions on anything that we covered? Yeah.
On your last slide only, that you say that you can take inspiration, so you can understand what is happening to somebody else in the industry and you can pick it up.
Yep.
Can you give me an example? Because like I'm a lawyer, I'm a corporate lawyer. So in Jaipur we don't actually find much of people who are working in my area.
Okay.
And so taking or meeting people who are in your area and not taking them as a competitors and learning from them is becoming much more difficult. So I'm looking forward that, okay, I cannot work and find out people in my area who can help me. So I should look for other professions or other places where I can pick up things which I need to do.
Right.
And sometimes you even don't understand how to pick it up. So can you give an examples of few cases where I can say, okay, I should look into this thing to understand what I can do on my own?
Right. I'm actually going to ask some of you for examples because I think you could probably help bring this to life. So it might be someone in this room today that you say, let's go for coffee. Maybe someone here will say, I have an interest in corporate law. I would love to have coffee with you, or tea, whatever you like. So I think some of it's figuring out, well, that was a great meeting. I learned something, but maybe I should focus on the kinds of clients that I'm looking for when I do my networking. Other kinds of law that maybe isn't competing, but that's tangential, which perhaps we would be sharing clients down the road, or we'd have something in common. So some of it, I think, is experimenting with the kinds of people that you're networking with. That will lead you to something that might be more relevant to what you're working on. But I don't know. I would ask.
I would also say, ask yourself the question when you're meeting with other people: how can I apply this to my business? I'm on 4 nonprofit boards in addition to my core business, and as a woman, I feel guilty about doing that. Right? We were talking about at lunch. Well, how do you give time to your core business when you're doing all this nonprofit stuff? So I forced myself, while I'm part of those other organizations, to say, what can I bring back to my business? I'm taking this time away, what can I bring back? And it's unbelievable the amount of ideas that I've gotten from doing things that are completely unrelated to my business, learning from other people.
To someone else, because it will certainly come back to full fold down the road. But we should really, as women in particular, we should be thinking about ourselves as connectors, and how do we connect the dots for other people when they don't necessarily see that same introduction? Because some of you you're having lunch or coffee or tea with, if you do this consistently, you will say to yourself, oh my gosh, I really am connecting the dots and be able to introduce other people. And that may or may not, again, help your business. You'll certainly feel good about it, I can guarantee that. And I guarantee somewhere down the road it will help you in some way. But are there other examples that you all want to share?
But don't you think a lot of time, like if you're connecting people, you're socially and mentally feeling good, but somewhere you feel that you've lost the focus, maybe you should have given that time to your professional work and, maybe have done the networking that's like, see, we as a females, we otherwise have a lot of more.
Well, I'll give you an example. How about this? So my business, my full-time job is looking for ways to invest in early stage companies in technology, primarily in the East Coast. So I meet with people all the time. Some of them are entrepreneurs, some of them are people who know entrepreneurs, some of them are aspiring entrepreneurs, some of them are entrepreneurs that I don't necessarily want to fund. But all these meetings, what I can tell you, has led to what is now an inbound pipeline of entrepreneurs that are interesting to me that I might want to fund. So it's because I've made quality relationships with people who are great entrepreneurs, that I see investments ahead of other people that might be looking at them as well. So I'm particularly focused on amazing women entrepreneurs who are working on something that someone else, I want to fund them before somebody else does. And so the way that I've done that is by building a network of people that aren't necessarily those people, right? I don't necessarily confine those people or know who those people are, but if you build the right web, then the people I know those people. And when someone they know says, I'm working on this great project, I'm looking for funding, do you know anybody who does that? They say, well, you should meet with Holly. I know Holly. So that's really how it works. I'm not having, and it's not really social. I mean, there's a social component to it because you're building a relationship. But when I'm meeting with these people, it is in a professional context. I'm telling them the kinds of things I'm working on, the kinds of things that I'm exploring, the kinds of interests I have, even if they're not today's interests. So they have a sense for, when you have these meetings, sometimes that's a challenge, knowing what to do in these meetings, right? So a lot of it is, I might talk a little bit about who I am and what I do when I'm working on, which again, we don't always love to do. And the other person will do the same thing. And then what will usually happen is, if it's not a complete connection, so if you and I had tea, we might say at the end of that, I might say, well, what can I do to be helpful? I say it every time I meet with someone. What can I be helpful to you or to your business or to what you're thinking about or what you're passionate about? And so I've made some connection for the future. But you're right, you make a really good point is, often when we have these networking sessions, part of why we don't feel like we should do that is because it feels like it's a waste of, it's socializing. And so I guess that's why we should take a step back and think about truly what is the meaning of these sessions, which is, of course, it's to get to know each other because it's the relationship that will make you want to help that person in the future in part. But it's also having a better understanding of what they're working on and who they are so that you can connect the dots for them in the future. So I challenge you. I would love in 6 months to find out who you've met with and how it might have helped you or your business or how you help someone else connect.
But you know, every second person when we meet,
right,
that person is inspiration for one can be copying the idea for the second. Right. How do we balance that?
So
I may get inspired by something
right.
when I probably go out and meet people, right? And I probably want to have the same module the other trainer is doing in Bombay. And I try and inculcate that module in my own way in my city. So for me it can be inspiration. For
right.
her it may be copying her module and taking it to another city. So how do we balance that, or it should be ignored?
I think
just like girl power, but I don't think men think about that at all. They have free conversations, and it doesn't even occur to them that someone might steal their idea. And I think that we need to be more free flowing as women,
and that's how we can help each other.
I suggest she can take the consent of the person. You know, that I'm inspired by your idea, and how would you like if I go and do it in my city?
I love that idea. Or are you okay if I use that in my own training?
As a matter of fact,
I bet she would love that you would do that. I mean, I know I'm inspired all the time by the conversations I have, and I definitely leverage that. I mean, that's part of the agreement. It's almost the nonverbal agreement when you walk in to have coffee or tea or network with someone, is that I'm going to leverage this knowledge in some way, and you're hoping that you're going to get. You want it to be mutual, right? So if you're never getting anything from those conversations, either you're meeting with the wrong people, or you're not asking to get something from them. But that's what every session should be. You should be getting knowledge, you should be getting information, you should be getting ideas and inspired. That's when it feels like it's no longer unimportant, right? It's in the quadrant of it is important, and we've got to spend time there because that's why you should be doing it, because keeping things fresh. I've been doing the same training for so many years. I just heard a great idea. Again, there's not a man in the world that would say, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that because I don't want it to be perceived that I took her idea. He'd say, can I have your playbook?
Actually, I have a point to add here. I think our perception has to change first. We are thinking that the other person may think like that or things like that. But sometimes it's not like that. It's there in our mind.
No,
Number one.
Told. That's why I asked.
If they told, that's the. Sometimes we think like that. We don't take that step. Men are not like that. They just go. They don't mind hitting a wall. They think so much.
It might also be
I can see so many yeses here. They think so much. Don't do so much of thinking also. Just do it. Sometimes it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. Let's think about it. And see, failure is just an experience you're getting.
Learning.
It's a learning. It's an experience. We don't want it. We always want success. Even the smallest of tasks, we do that, right?
No, that's why we check. We feel like we did it.
You either succeed or you get an experience. That's it.
But
Go for it.
I even think about some of you in the room. So some of you here are working on some similar things, right?
Yeah.
And so at first you might have thought, oh my gosh, we're working on the same thing. But for these young women who are a little bit earlier in their stage than you are, you guys should go on the next break and say to her, how'd you get started? What'd you do? How should we do this? What are the first steps we should take?
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yeah.
Can you hire us? Can you outsource us? Can you someday? And there's lots of you that are in the same sectors. I would be saying the same thing. I would be saying, all right, you're on e-commerce. I'm thinking about being on e-commerce. How'd you come up with that? What were the first channels? Like, that's what I would be doing. Well, you have such an opportunity here, to your earlier point today, which is, why would we reinvent the wheel? There's so many great tires in here, right? Like, why would we collaborate and ask each other questions and leverage? Because that knowledge will make, you know, what you're doing, exponentially grow. So I'm so glad you brought up. Never think that you're copying an idea. This is it, you will get more back if you're willing to share and not going to those. Those conversations will be better if they're more open too, because if you're going in afraid that the ideas will get out, then you're not going to get back as much in return either.
I would like to say something. Earlier I was in an internship program at IIM Ahmedabad, and there I came to know like when there are one seller and buyer. A seller wants to sell a thing and a buyer wants to buy. What happens, the seller has fixed a rate or price and a buyer has a price in his mind. But if they are, they have set at a price. Seller just wants to sell it and buyer just wants to buy it. But they have the thing in mind that they don't negotiate, they don't speak out. So what happens is, either the seller is not able to sell that thing because he has set a high price and he is not able to negotiate, or the buyer is not able to buy that price because he is not able to get that price, that product at that price. So be open to ideas. Be open. So when you're like with a client or with anybody else, when you're with that person, when you meet, even if you meet a person, you just be the way you are. So you just come across so many solutions you never know. So I think you should be open to ideas and just not think that we are socializing or something. It's not useful. And somehow you gain something when you come back home or stay at home.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Talking about that lines, basically I have a question, a person is please I want to share. So because I'm a startup, where I've just started, I'm in the early growing stage right now. So I have a client who is very big, like it's going to be a big achievement for me if I work with them. And so while making the product and giving it to them, I had set some quotation that this is how much time I'm going to take, because I'm a manufacturing unit. So this is what I'm going to do, and this is how many days I'm going to take. And they end up saying that no, we want it from you, that the product is completely unique, everything is okay, but then we want in this time frame. So when it comes to expectation settings and being a smaller firm and getting attached to a bigger company, it's a difficult task to do and to make them understand, and the words that we need this much of time to do some things, and setting the expectations is a big problem to what I understand, and how to put it in a nice way and present it to them so that they probably understand the efforts that it will take to finally deliver the product, and not get into the smaller points, like if I'm
do you want to talk about your Jane Dragon example?
Which one did I tell you about?
When you first
this very matter-of-fact, completely dispassionate manner. And we had a client a couple of weeks ago. One of the services we provide as an agency is everything we do is quality assurance tested and proofread. And the client wanted to see our rates and our whole, how many hours for all these different roles, and in digital marketing, I'm sure you're familiar with this. And there were 2 hours of proofreading in the contract. And the client questioned, why should I be paying for proofreading? And so my head of operations said, well, do you not want the work proofread? And the client said, no, well, I want it proofread. And he said, well, then do you not want to pay for it to be proofread? Do you not want to pay us for our services? And the client said, no, I just think quality should be, the core of what you do. And he said, it is, that's why we have proofreading. And the client said, okay. And, so sometimes you just need to be very, not so emotionally invested in it, and just explain to them, and clients will try and push and push and push and push until, they want it faster, they want it less expensive, they want it higher quality, and that's just the nature of business. But if you can speak confidently about why it takes the time that it takes, why you need to invest the amount of hours, potentially what the consequences of not having the appropriate amount of time to produce the product, and just be very matter-of-fact about it. And always know in your mind how much you can negotiate out of your timeline. And you may have already negotiated to the point where there's no time left in the timeline. And we go through this all the time. clients don't really understand how long things take, especially since a lot of the work that we do is custom. They always think it should take less time, be less expensive, take less people, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So the more you can be confident and you know, you have the best expertise on your product or your service. So you are in the best position to articulate why it takes the time that it takes, why the manufacturing quality is what it is, why the materials that go into the product, you know. And so if you can just be very matter of fact about it and don't allow yourself to get ruffled in those conversations. And to Holly's point earlier, the power of the pause is unbelievable. I can't tell you how many times I've been on the phone with someone who's a more junior team member who was rushing to fill the silence on the phone and who's actually talking themselves out of a sale. So rather than just, you know, say, this is why, and be very matter of fact, and just let the silence lie, 30 seconds, a minute, very uncomfortable for women to do because we're relationship builders, we're nurturers.
So hard.
It's really difficult. And yeah, and I've had clients where, you know, on the topic of difficult clients, where I've said no to a client. The client wanted to cut a price down to a point that where I knew we couldn't make a profit, and I said, you know, we're doing lots of business with your company, and we're happy to do all those projects, but we're just not going to do this one because, you know, we're on different pages as far as what we think it's going to take and what you think it's going to take, and that's completely fine. You know, no bad feelings at all, but we're not going to take this project. And I just let the silence lie. And I had a team of about 12 people around the table. We were on the conference call with the client. And if you would have seen the faces of the people around the table, and I went like this so that no one would say a word because I saw 3 junior people getting ready to jump in and say something. I just did like this. And we just let the silence lie. And the client actually said, wow, you're actually going to walk away from this piece of business. And I said, I am. I'm sorry, and I look forward to doing other business with you. So the client said, well, I'm going to hire another company to do this, and, you know, I know a company who will do it for less. Client goes back to his boss. Boss said, are you insane? You're not working with another company. Call Trista back and tell her they're getting this business and pay her what she wants. So.
Well, I'd like to add something here to your question, right? When you're speaking to us itself, there was pain in your face. There was so much thoughts. There's something that is pulling you down. There's something that is making your shoulders heavy. I don't know. I felt it. I felt that. The first opening remark of yours is that's a big client. That's a client I want to work with.
Yeah.
I know as startups, all of us here want to work with companies of repute, companies which have $1 billion business, things like that, things like that. That is that is what you call shadowing your decision-making skills. That is shadowing the rest of the story. Don't allow that. The same client will kick you if the quality comes down because he wanted it to be completed in half the timeline, in the half the duration, right? Will he pay you? Bluntly, he'll say, I'll not pay. You screwed up the quality. He will not agree that his... See, there is a hierarchy in any company. The guy who is dealing with you may not be the CEO, right? So this guy wants it done. He was sleeping all the while. He didn't find you before. So finally he found you, and he's trying to push you into working overtime and give this product, which is supposed to take, say, 60 days and 30 days. But the boss who will finally see the output may not like the quality if you finish that. At that moment, this gentleman who has been negotiating with you will not be there to save you, trust me. Will he be there?
Yeah.
That never happens. So it's up to you to not get, as Trista and Holly keep telling, get emotionally detached at that moment. Put yourself in the salesman box. Don't put yourself in the CEO box. Put yourself in the salesman box and put yourself in the operations team box. Where the operation teams needs 2 months. Instead, this guy wants it in 1 month. Your operation team guy, if you're the person who is handling the whole thing, if, for example, yours is a manufacturing, right? It's a unit, right? So you'll be having a person who handles a CTO kind of person, right? So that guy will tell, what did you do? How can I do this? So you're putting pressure on them as well.
Exactly.
So being candid, boss, I would love to work with you, but unfortunately, I can't deliver this within 1 month. So maybe I'll have to forgo this for this time. I'd love to do this next time. That guy he's having pressure, remember? He has pressure to complete it in 1 month. He will not leave you because by the time he gets out of the vendor and talks to that vendor and that vendor actually delivers it, it will take time. So he will bulge to you only. You may come up with a 45-day limit, not 60 days, not 30 days. You will end up with a middle path. The most important takeaway from this, whatever we are trying to tell, is that moment, that minute, focus on this issue. Don't allow, what if I lose this business? What is this affecting my bottom line, my top line, or some other line? Don't think in those lines. Don't think so much. Just focus on it. By any chance you miss it, or that guy says, okay, fine, don't worry. That was destined to be like that. Had it come and had you ruined the quality or something else goes wrong, that is a bigger loss for you. This is a smaller loss. You didn't invest time, you didn't invest your manpower, you didn't invest anything in it. Right? I think this is something, why I took few more minutes to explain this is, most of us do this. Most of us go through this cycle of, I want the client, at the same time I can't fulfill the expectation in that particular time. These are always, this juggling keeps happening. Most of the times, there are some clients who are very reasonable and they say, oh, you need 2 months, theek hai. But see that the quality is good. I mean, see that you deliver. So let's keep it 50 days so that even if there are 2 more iterations, we'll end up at completing it by 60 days. There are some clients you will find, because any sensible client will know the whole process, and based on the process, he'll give you those timelines, right?
The other thing is that the last thing I'll add is in my business, sometimes I'm dealing with directly with a CEO or a business person. Sometimes I'm dealing with the procurement organization. So our 2 largest clients are Johnson & Johnson and MasterCard, which are both multi-billion-dollar global companies. So there's a lot of middlemen involved. So the person that I'm dealing with and negotiating the contract with in a lot of cases is not the end client.
Exactly.
And so the procurement people or the legal people or whoever you might be dealing with, and some of you that are selling, you want to sell to a big chain store, so you'll be dealing with procurement people, and they're very dispassionate, and they will just kind of pound and pound and pound. And I had one of my examples, was negotiating a contract with Johnson & Johnson, and the procurement person, we were on 10-day payment terms with Johnson & Johnson. They've been a client of ours for over 30 years. So we've gotten preferred status, and so when we submit our bills, they pay in 10 days, which is almost unheard of in the US these days. It's usually 60, or more commonly, especially with large consumer products companies, it's 120 days. So our contract came up for renewal last year, and the procurement person said, well, our new payment terms are 90 days, period. No negotiation possible. 90 days, that's it.
I'll walk away. If I were you, I'll walk away if he says this
well,
to me.
Well, you know, it's an art, right? Negotiation, everybody.
At least I try to do that so that he comes
back. So we just calmly kept repeating, that's not going to work for us. Is there someone that we need to escalate to? As you know, we've been a partner for 30 years, and so we just kept repeating, that's not going to work for us, that's not going to work, just very calmly. We didn't argue, we didn't get emotional, and we just said that's just, those terms are simply not going to work for us. We can't go from 10 days to 90 days. We are a woman-owned boutique agency, and you're a national global company. So I understand if you're not in a position where you can make that decision or you can make that exception, but let us know who we should escalate to. Well, they came back, and of course we were able to, the non-negotiable payment terms became very negotiable. So sometimes just holding your ground in a very matter-of-fact way. I mean, in your heart of hearts what's fair and what's not fair. I mean, if someone's not being fair with you. And when someone's not being fair to you, there's a vulnerability on their side. They know they're not being fair to you either, but they're charged with doing a certain thing. They're charged with getting, extending payment terms as long as possible, getting the price as low as possible, delivery schedules as tight as possible. So, so they're going to try and negotiate way more than they think they're going to get. And so you just need to hold your ground. You maybe need to compromise. Maybe you compromise a little bit on price, but not on delivery schedule. You really need to know what are the things that are really core to the quality of your product and to the success of your product, and wherever you're selling it or wherever you place it.
And you set a precedent. So the way that you handle that negotiation or that interaction or that transaction, next time around you'll be in the same spot. So you need to do it the first time around. Right.
I would like to ask something to Sridevi again. You just mentioned that we have a hierarchy to a department, right? And my negotiations and my details don't work with him. And he's kind of working as a barrier for me to connect to the head of the department.
Isn't that the case 90% of the time?
Yeah, so my question is, should I still persevere to meet the head of the coordinate if my negotiations don't work with him? Or I should stop my perseverance there?
You want to escalate this to the higher ups through him or through your own channels?
Both. He is not letting me go through my own channel. He wants me to go through his channel, so that my negotiation should first work with him and then it moves on to the other level. But I want to go directly to that level. Should I do it that way? Or if he stops at that level itself, if my negotiations don't work with him, he probably has 20% say in it, but the other 80% say it as it is at the higher level. So should I try? Because that's a very stressful thing, to cross that barrier and reach that particular person. So, should we do that as a professional, or it shouldn't be done that way?
Well, I was going to say, in my experience in sales, I know that feeling. It's an art, right?
Yeah.
So one is, it's a risk, because believe me, I've done it the wrong way. And this guy gets really mad because you went to this guy and he just cuts you out.
Just drive him out.
However, there are creative ways to get around people, right? So it may be not you, but your counterpart or someone that works with you, or a different connection or advisor or someone you know, who goes to that person above. So it's not perceived that you went directly to that person. And then what you do as a courtesy is say, I wanted to let you know, to the junior person, I wanted to let you know that this conversation happened, because ultimately people do work with people that they want to do work with, who they like, who can they get good deals from. But ultimately, if you damage a relationship, you could be in trouble. So I'm not saying don't do it, I'm just saying be real creative and cover, I don't know if I can cover your ass. It's all about, right, so the junior guy doesn't feel like he didn't know, because when the senior guy goes to him and says, did you know about this? You don't want him caught off guard. So I say absolutely find a creative way to do it, but just cover yourself in the meantime.
Thank you. We call that marking. How many of you play a team sport?
Yeah.
Hockey, volleyball, basketball, not volleyball. Hockey, basketball, football. What is that called? Marking or shadowing in different things. We call this, as Holly said, this guy who's trying to stop you will make your life miserable even if you reach the next line all by yourself. So find your confidant, find your other connect who has connections with the higher up. So that person will put in a good word for you, and you get a direct contact or a direct mail or oh, okay, fine, please tell her to come tomorrow at so-and-so time. I'll talk to her. They'll say, at that moment you'll tell this guy that your boss told me to come at 10 and I'm coming. Why don't you join me for the meeting? Right. How's that?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Why don't you join me for the meeting? He'll feel happy. He will not feel intimidated. He will, oh God, ये लड़की क्या कर रही है? चलो जो भी किया, मुझे भी बुलाया ना, चलो. Then he will be your man Friday. At least there are chances of he becoming your man Friday.
So the chances are very, very low. I'm telling you, very, very low. Actually, in the industry of education, it's very, very low.
I belong to the education sector. I am an advisor to the government of Telangana in education and skill development. All 18 years of my life been with only educational institutions.
You know the problem.
And worked with only in educational institutions.
Especially in Rajasthan. I don't say about the other states. My rapport in
everywhere it's the
has
same.
become very good.
Everywhere it's the same.
No, people here, the highest authority, don't even read their mails. They are dependent on the lower authority to come and tell them that this has happened. Now what do we do?
Do you think it's something? How do you know it's something different in Telangana or Andhra Pradesh? You don't know, right? We always think what's happening here. Oh God, yahi pe hota hai aise. दूसरी जगह पे नहीं होता. It doesn't happen somewhere else. Trust me, there are everything that happens everywhere. Maybe the degree is little different. Right. I'm sure Holly will say, Sridevi, there are some more organizations in US also where this happens.
Well, what I was going to say is, you've got to sell to the decision maker. And I know you're saying the decision maker doesn't open his mail, but that's where you have to you've got to figure that out. I mean, that's the thing, because if you're always selling to the person who ultimately you've got to get through to get to the next person, well, it's a long sales cycle, and it's just over time it's just difficult.
There's one more point that we can add to this, where what is the actual, it's a messenger, you know, and going to the right person of director is
You mean
more vital.
stake as influence? You mean stake as
Exactly,
veto
as
power?
influence.
You mean stake
The
as what?
position or the influence. Like if I'm going to an organization, I deal with a placement officer directly, but
They
at
are
times
the sickest lot. Sorry.
I'm okay with it. They're not sick for me. They give me business.
I agree with you.
No, but when I have to go for a decision making, I know he is not the one who does it. It is going to be the director or the person who's heading it. So I would go in for direct communication with them, because even if he tells me something, I say this is something I would like to discuss with sir to understand what exactly is that they want. So I make sure that I rather opening all my things and telling him and trying to make him understand. I say, why don't you do one thing? Let's go and ask him if he's free right now. We can go and meet him right away.
The kind of person she's telling will not forget anything you do. They will not allow her to meet them.
Right. You got it
The
right.
kind of person she's telling about a different breed of people.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, anyway.
So that's pretty much the end of my segment.
Is that we are bragging. So what is the line where we can say we are bragging or we are telling about ourselves, and how we should prepare ourselves to tell what we are good at.
Right. Well,
how to talk about ourselves.
Right. Well, one of it's practice, right? Yes. So getting comfortable talking to yourself, and I'm not hopefully not stealing your thunder. So I don't know if everyone knows what an elevator pitch is, but it's essentially if you had to tell a story or give a pitch or sell something in the time that you were riding the elevator, that would be essentially an elevator pitch. But we all need almost a personal elevator pitch, and so it's practice, it's trying it out, it's honing it, it's having sort of different pitches for different audiences. But I will tell you this: there is not. We're not gonna be like so anti-man, but men aren't worried about how much they're talking about each other or themselves. They're not worried about someone thinking they're bragging. Okay? They don't think, my gosh, you're gonna think I'm bragging. That is something that we totally do as women. We don't want to over-assume. We don't want to look overly confident. We don't want to brag. I think that you have to push yourself to the edge a little bit. You'll hone it back. You'll change it for the next conversation. But I think it's a blend between talking about who you are and what you know, and how you feel comfortable talking about that. But I think everyone in here should think to themselves, what is my pitch if I were going into a bank officer to try to get a loan, or I was going on a first date? What would be the things that I would talk about that I think exemplify the qualities of what I have and what I know and what my skills are? And it takes practice. What I said last night at dinner with these folks is slightly different than what I said today. I thought to myself after I said last night, oh, I should have mentioned something else. Well, maybe tomorrow morning I'll mention that. Of course, I forgot a couple things. So it's evolving. But I think the more that we get used to talking about who we are and what we can offer, then it'll be easier and we'll feel more confident. We won't be worried that we're saying too much. And believe me, the woman next to us will tell us if we said too much, or our friend will, or our mother will. Someone's going to always be there to tell us, to get us back in check. But until then, we should definitely push the envelope a little bit further.
And I always think about it in terms of, when I talk about my sons and my daughter, I'm so proud of my children.